Silver Spoon, or Gennosaji if you wanted to be able to Google it, is a manga written and illustrated by Hiromu Arakawa of Fullmetal Alchemist fame. It follows Yugo Hachiken as he enrolls in an agricultural high school in order to get away from his strained home life. While there, he learns a lot about himself and grows into a more complete and happy person, having made many new friends. As far as quick summaries go, I think this one gets the job done well enough, though in a way it does feel a bit lacking, a bit generic even. But to get to the bottom of why I feel Silver Spoon is so much more than its summary, let's take a few steps back and consider the context of what we're talking about. Only then will I feel comfortable jumping into the video in earnest. And to do that, I'm going to tell you just a bit about the author, the aforementioned Hiromu Arakawa. Born May 8, 1973, Arakawa was raised on a dairy farm with 3 older sisters and a younger brother. Since a young age, she had wanted to be a mangaka. Already, I can imagine her seeing the puzzle pieces fitting into place, but before she used her childhood as fuel for what would become Silver Spoon, she had a few other accomplishments under her belt. While there were a good few beats before Fullmetal Alchemist, for the sake of the beloved brevity I will jump there. In July of 2001, Arakawa published the first chapter of Fullmetal Alchemist. Running for 108 chapters, the series was collected into 27 volumes. By this time, Arakawa had become a worldwide sensation. After some more small works, of which I will also be skipping today, we get to the topic we're really here for, Silver Spoon. After having made almost entirely fantasy/shonen manga in her career, she wanted to challenge herself with a more down-to-earth slice of lifestyle manga. And so, in April of 2011, she penned Silver Spoon. While some may wonder why I took the time to give as much detail as I did, I think it helps to contextualize the state in which Silver Spoon was made. Silver Spoon is about as far from a shonen fantasy as one could get, and for one author to pen both is even more of a shock. I think it really goes to show the skill Arakawa possesses, as well as the knowledge she must have had to be able to make something like this a reality. All of that to say, I think it is precisely all of the skills Arakawa had cultivated over her career that allowed her to make something as great as Silver Spoon, and as a consequence, it's easily my favorite of her works by quite a margin as well. So with all that admittedly long preamble out of the way, I want to really get into it. Today, we're going to talk about Silver Spoon and how it uses food to express the value of community. Silver Spoon, I think, has many themes running throughout it that lend it to being a deceptively dense and interesting series. Enough so that if I wished it, I could make a very long retrospective on it, though Core has already done that, and I'm more into smaller, more intimate videos anyway. For that reason, I will be exploring the community of food in Silver Spoon, as seen in chapters 8 through 10 of the manga, or episode 4 of the anime, as I have lovingly dubbed it, the Pizza Arc. At this point in the story, Hachiken is still very new to Uezo, and hasn't quite begun to fit in. He's struggling a lot with figuring out what kind of person he is, and what exactly it is he's trying to accomplish here. At the top of episode 4, though he had by far gotten the highest net grades in the class, he is regardless frustrated by his inability to be the best in any single subject. This stems from when his father had held him to such high standards, breaking him down to the point where he had felt like he had to run away, which is what brought him to this school in the first place. But of course, that mindset of needing to be the best is ingrained in him. If he can't be the best, then what's the point? This idea is compounded by the fact that in a very real way, like we explore later, he looks down on his classmates. He thinks they're just some farm kids, and that he should have no problem outclassing them. This isn't him being malicious in any way, but he's still immature, and has yet to learn the value of different skill sets and abilities. His classmates may not excel in core classes like math or language, but for example, Tokiwa has had him beat in livestock science, and Komaba in crop science. The point is, these kids, because of the environments they were raised in, all have specialized skills that Hachiken simply can't compete with, with his limited world experience. Pair this with Hachiken's very individualistic mindset, and you get a person who tries to carry too much weight and doesn't lean onto others, despite wanting others to lean on him. This brings us to the end of Chapter 8, when during a campus-wide cleaning, Hachiken stumbles upon Brick Oven. Upon this discovery, Hachiken does some preliminary research merely out of curiosity, and happens to mention to himself that pizza can be made in a brick oven. His classmates overhear this and go absolutely ballistic over the idea of pizza. Growing up deep in the country, they never had access to pizza, especially nothing as high class as delivery pizza. With excitement brimming, Hachiken is given the task of undergoing the Pizza Project, for purely righteous desire, of course. As Hachiken begins his research, the mounting and choking reality of the situation sets in. Hachiken can't afford all the ingredients necessary. He doesn't know where or how to get mozzarella cheese. He's simply lost in the sauce, or lack thereof. But his roommates see he's struggling. With a heavy heart, he tells them he doesn't think he can do it. He took on this huge task, but quickly learned he isn't equipped to handle all the labor involved. Upon hearing this, they all offer to help him. The school allows for students to experiment and try new things, any leftover produce being open for use by anyone. Beppo is in food processing. He can handle the tomato sauce. Nishikawa can get the produce, all the fresh vegetables he'll need. All around him are a community of people who are willing to help him. He never had to do it alone. And it's here, I think, that we really get to the core of what's happening here. This, of course, started through a sort of selfish desire of the other students, pushing their desire of having pizza onto Hachiken, who in turn felt pressured into taking it on, much like how he has been conditioned to behave under similar circumstances. But to put it in those terms paints a bad, and I would argue inaccurate picture of the scenario here. Yes, they are using him in a way, but I think that there is a more charitable way to contextualize it, and I think Mikage put it best.
人よしだよね。あれだね。8件は人が良すぎて損するタイプだね。そうかもね。でもさ、損でもなんでも、いい人のところには人が集まるよ。
Hachiken is a kind person, and he naturally takes on burdens he's not obliged to, just because helping people is something that is ingrained in him. This is in part due to him using other people's problems to avoid his own, which is something he has to learn to grow past. But it's also because he is so intimately aware of his own problems that he's able to be aware of other people's problems as well. Other people may not be as equipped to tackling their own issues, and so Hachiken will help them. This plays into the idea of growth through community. Everyone helps everyone. As Hachiken learns about himself and grows by being thrust into this new environment, so too do his classmates grow by being introduced to a new kind of person, and so they all grow together. But before we get too lost down this rabbit hole, I will recenter the discussion onto the focal point, that being on the pizza party itself. Food plays a huge role in the series in general, Hachiken learning the real value of food, and the gray ethicality of where said food comes from. He grows to appreciate food far more than he used to, and food is often a means of celebration, and a means of coming together. Silverspoon tells us that the act of enjoying food is something to be appreciated, and something to be cherished, an end goal to which we work towards. It is a simple happiness, but it's also one of the most pure happinesses. And so, Hachiken working together with his friends to reach a common goal, one that may have seemed trivial to him at first, is now contextualized as a grand effort of a community, performing a task that would not have been possible alone. This is greatly significant as it serves a good few purposes, mainly that of Hachiken learning that he can ask for help, and that everyone around him can bring their own skills to the dinner table, and create something great, something that would have been unthinkable on its own, and most importantly, such teamwork will often end in a kick-ass pizza party. So I think that's about it for me. I'm sure I could go into more depth, be a bit more clear and poignant, but that would require a degree of skill and time I just don't have yet. though I am confident to a degree that I still managed to get something of value across. Silver Spoon means a lot to me, and when I had rewatched it recently, I just knew I had to say something about it. Maybe try to work through my own thoughts on it in some way. And thus I reveal to you the real truth, that I have been simply using you as a thinly veiled excuse to spout my nonsense into the ether for my own nebulous personal gain. I have done it before, and I shall do it again. I have no clue what it is I want to say, but I promise you I will say it loudly and without purpose. I'm tired and I'm weak, but I'm strong. I want to go home. I'm tired. I would love it if you would comment and tell me how cool and unique I am so I can continue this farcical belief that I have any self-worth. And by extension, it would be super cool if you subscribed, for even passing the 50 subscriber mark would bring me a frankly ridiculous degree of joy. And at the end of the day, my joy is of chief importance. Okay, I'm actually done now. Please ignore the last 152 words preceding this sentence. After you do that, I hope you have a good night.